The words living legends has never been more appropriate. Trailblazers has never been more appropriate. Greeting everyone all around the world. Thank you for being with us. Magic. Yes, magic is the appropriate word for what is going to happen in front of your eyes today. And this magic is created by 5 amazing ladies, 5 legends of the silver screen. They literally shattered the screen from silver to pure gold. 5 talented and beautiful ladies that graced us for more than 70 decades with their striking presence. Lisa Lu, Nancy Kwan, Franz Nuyen, Kieu Chinh, and Irene Tsu. This is our gift to you, while they are the gift to this planet. You have our deepest gratitude. Thank you, Jeremy Kagan, for your loyalty. Thank you, Kate, and thank you to Asians in LA to have partnered with us today. And thank you to the whole team who is behind this panel today. Rick Ambros, it's all yours. Let the magic in.
Thank you, George. So I have to say I'm deeply honored and humbled to be able to moderate this panel today. And really we're seeing history being made here with the 5 of you participating and telling us about your extraordinary lives. I'd like to start by giving a quick introduction on each of you for the audience, and then we'll go into questions. I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but you've done so much that it's very difficult to top line this. But let me start with Lisa, who was born in Beijing and has been an actress who has worked both in the United States, in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and of course, China. You know her from many important films, including The Last Emperor, The Joy Luck Club, Crazy Rich Asians. She won 3 Golden Horse Awards for films she did in Chinese. And I understand she just finished another film in China that is coming out soon. She's also a stage actress and is very much involved in mentoring young filmmakers and actors who want to come to the United States. Next, Kieu Chinh, who was born in Hanoi, Vietnam. Kieu acted in 25 films in her native Vietnam, Taiwan, the Philippines, and India before she even came to the United States. So she was a well-known, established international star. The story of her coming to the US is a book in and of itself, but during the Vietnam War in 1975, she needed to leave her country. She first came to Canada, and then Tippi Hedren sponsored her in the United States and got her and her children to come here. Her first role in the United States was with Alan Alda in MASH. And Kieu went on to act in many films, Hamburger Hill, pardon me, many television shows. She was on China Beach for many years. And of course, she was in the Joy Luck Club. She now has been doing a lot of philanthropic work, and she is the president and co-founder of the Vietnam Children's Fund, together with journalist Terry Anderson. They've built about 50 schools in Vietnam for 25,000 students, and she is very much engaged in those activities. Franz Nuyen was born in France. She came to the United States in 1956, and she actually wanted to be a dress designer. But then she got a part in South Pacific in the famous role of Liat, for which she was nominated for a Golden Globe as the most promising newcomer. She then went on to The World of Susie Wong, the Broadway play, and acted in many other film and television shows. She kind of became a cult phenomenon in Star Trek as Elan of Troyes, and of course, then also acted in the Joy Luck Club. While she was doing all this, she got a master's degree in psychology and has been a psychological counselor here in Los Angeles for abused women and children, and was awarded the Woman of the Year Award in 1989 by the city of LA. Nancy Kwan was born in Hong Kong to a Chinese father and English-Scottish mother. She moved to London, where she became a ballet dancer with the Royal Ballet School. She was discovered by Ray Stark and cast in The World of Susie Wong, the film, and won the Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer and was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress in the Drama category. After that, she was in Flower Drum Song, which was actually the first big budget US film with an all Asian cast. This was in 1961. She acted in many other television shows, in movies. She has been in Project Kill, Dragon the Bruce Lee Story, and Noble House. She founded her own production company in Hong Kong, where she produced commercials and acted in Southeast Asian films. And very importantly, she's an activist for the Asian American Voters Coalition. Boy, do we need that now. Irene Tsu was born in Shanghai. She moved to Hong Kong and then to New York. She studied ballet and jazz. She was Miss Chinatown, USA. And she got a part also in Flower Drum Song as a teenage dancer in 1961. And shortly after that, she got her first speaking role with none other than Jimmy Stewart in the film Take Her, She's Mine. She's been in numerous films, Paradise Hawaiian Style with Elvis Presley, and Caprice with Doris Day, Green Berets with John Wayne. She was in Downtown Beverly Hills. And her most recent project is the voice of Grandma in Over the Moon, which is just releasing on Netflix. Irene too has a second career as a real estate agent. And she's very active, and she just published a book, a memoir about her life, which is truly fascinating. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future. So with that, I'd like to maybe just jump in to the first questions. And I think the first question really is, what are the challenges you faced when you arrived in the United States from abroad? And how did you break into the business in the United States? And I'm happy for anyone to start, and then I'd love to hear from all five of you if possible.
Well, I came to the United States in 1956 and with my mother, and proceeded to want to have a career in modeling because that's what I did as a teenager in Marseille. And eventually, the school that I went to realized that Joshua Logan was looking for an engineer for South Pacific. So they got me out of my little French bakery I was working on Lexington Avenue, and took me to an office on Madison Avenue, which was the office of Richard Rogers and Oscar Hammerstein, whom I had never heard of. And there was Joshua Logan. And Josh spoke French, by the way, and I didn't speak English. And somehow it develops that I was to take off my shoes and run around the room. And so I did. And I walked out with a 7 years contract of 20th Century Fox. And to my blessings, that was in one of the most successful American musical that was ran on Broadway, I think, for 15 or 16 years. Anyway, I was very, very lucky. I think I've seen the best of Hollywood, which doesn't exist anymore. I came to this country where people could sleep at night with their door open. And it was a great deal of trust and wonderful guidance from Joshua Logan and his wife. And Julia Skouras, who was the wife of George Skouras at 20th Century Fox, took me under her wing, and I became a protégé. And anyway, it was the start of a really extraordinary career with marvelously talented, great talent people. And unfortunately, in my youth, I didn't quite understand that. It took me the years that I have survived to realize how lucky I have been and how blessed I was and how taken care I was. And I'm very grateful. So I dedicated my life to children who were definitely forgotten in the time in the 70s, abused and battered children. And so I ended up going back to school, getting a degree of psychology, and giving my time to veterans and people in prison and children in institution and a ward of the court. And I think that has enriched me as a human being, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you. How did you get into the business, Lisa, in the United States at first? when you emigrated here?
As I said, I was taken for an interview on Madison Avenue, which was the office of Richard Rogers and Oscar Hammerstein, and I walked out with a 7-year contract. And I went to Hollywood as the courtesy of the agent that was doing the modeling school. She gave me about 2 weeks at Berlitz. And that's how I got on the plane and arrived in Hollywood with an address of a hotel that I thought was in Hollywood. And we went around and around and around, and there was no such hotel in Hollywood. So he finally got into my purse, the driver, and found that it was in Los Angeles, directed actually, maybe a few hundred feet from 20th Century Fox. But we had been everywhere trying to find that hotel. And then the next day I had an appointment and showed up and did what I was told for 7 years. And eventually 10 years, because the 3 years that I spent on Broadway were added at the end of my 7 years contract. And, it's a different world today. It's a different business. And I think we had, in those days, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we had the best of Hollywood.
And Lisa, when you emigrated to the United States, how did you get your first part in the business?
Oh, first part. That is very interesting because I wanted to be an actress since I was very young, but my family thought I'm not smart enough to be an actor, and they thought I was good in mathematics and honest person. So they sent me to study business administration in the best university in Shanghai. And that was my major, MBA. And when I went to work, I feel so sad because I'm not interested in it. And when I moved to Los Angeles, so near to Hollywood, and so my family then said, if you want to be an actress, go and try. And when you failed, you would have no regret. So I went to Pasadena Playhouse to be trained, to have a degree, and started my acting career. And today I'm 93, and I'm so glad that I'm an actress. Whenever I go to work, it's my happiest moment.
That's wonderful. How about you, Nancy?
Hello, ladies. Nice seeing you. You're all so pretty. I was in the right place at the right time, I guess, how I started. I was still in school, at ballet school in London, but I happened to be home in Hong Kong for the summer holidays. And I heard that some of my favorite Chinese actresses were going to test the role of the world of Susie Wong. So I thought, well, that would be interesting. I'd like to see that. So I went up to Yale and to watch them doing the screen test. And when I was standing there, this man comes up to me and he says, are you here for the screen test? And I said, oh, no, I'm just observing. And he said, well, you should do a screen test. I said, well, but I'm a ballet dancer. I'm not an actress. This is okay. He says, you see that chair over there? Go and sit over there. We'll ask you a few questions and that's it. It's very easy. So I thought, well, okay. So I go, I sit down in the chair. And he asked me the usual, how old are you and what you're doing here and so and so. And every time I answered, I giggled. And I giggled, I think, through the whole screen test. So that was that. About, quite a few weeks later, I was about to go back to England to school. And my father receives a letter from Seven Arts, very stark, with a contract. They like my screen test. They want me to come to Hollywood and study with an acting coach and do another screen test at the end. So my father said, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to go back to school, or you want to go to do this, go to Hollywood? So I said, no, I want to go to Hollywood. I've never been to America. It's a great opportunity. And I was getting paid for it too. So that's how I started. I went to Hollywood and did more screen tests and so on.
Right, and Kieu, you obviously had a whole career going already before you came to the United States. I believe, tell us a little bit about when you first arrived here, because you met Tippi Hedren and Don Johnson, and eventually ended up on MASH in an episode with Alan Alda, which kind of launched your US career, I believe.
Hi, everybody. When Vietnam War ended in 1975, I came to United States with nothing but clothes on my back. I was very, very lucky and grateful to actress Tippi Hedren, the actress in The Birds of Hitchcock. She sponsored me into United States. I wanted to go back to my acting career, but it is so difficult. My experiences here is the different system of working, like going out for audition. I need an agent. I have to be a member of Screen Actor Guild, which I don't have an agent. I'm not a member of SAG, and I never went to audition before. After 22 years of working as an actor, I never went to audition. But I was very lucky then. Besides Tippi, actor William Holden's helping me to put me in SAG and found me the greatest agent, William Morris Agency, to put me there. But wherever I go, they ask me for my work, the proof of my film. They don't understand that I am an exile artist. I came here with nothing. How can I show the film? So it was William Holden told me that whoever wants to know about your past work, tell them to call me. And then I was very lucky that director Robert Wise helping me. At that time, his friend is Francis Coppola, doing the movie Apocalypse Now. So Mr. Robert Wise introduced me to Francis Coppola for me to be in the movie. So I met Mr. Coppola. He interested to give me a part in Apocalypse Now to play the wife of Marlon Brando. And also wanted me, the part is small because Apocalypse Now is all about man, leading man. The woman is very small part. But he wanted me to be there so I can be like, not like a consultant or anything that when he needed about Vietnam. But unfortunately, I cannot leave the country because I'm not US citizen yet. I have no passport and I cannot have working permit in Philippines then. So I missed that opportunity. But later, I was very lucky. I landed in my very first work in MASH with Alan Alda. It's funny when I think back of that. When I landed in my agent, received a call from Mr. Burt Metcalf, the producer of MASH, asking for me. My agent told me that, wow, I used to have to looking for your work and send you out, but this is like they call me and looking for you. So I went and my agent told me that, tell me how was the meeting as soon as you come back. So when I come back, I called my agent, he asked, tell me how that happened. I said, well, I don't know. I met two gentlemen, one named Burt Metcalf and the other named Alan Alda. I said, wow, do you know who they are? I said, no, I don't. We never seen match before. No, I never seen match before. I don't even have a TV in where I live now. I just arrived as a refugee. And that's how I ended in match. It was my happiest time when I arrived in Hollywood. The first time I see that, yes, I'm an actor. I have a chair with my name on next to Alan Alda chair. And when the filming wrapped, I cried. I cried because I thought that it flashed back with all my past. And now, yes, I'm an actor in Hollywood. I cried. But I was so surprised when I came back to my very tiny apartment in Hollywood. I received a phone call. It was Alan Alda called me. He said, thank you so much for your work. And I'm honored to know you and to work with you and to learn that we here in Hollywood, we take advantage of what we have. I learned from what you have went through, and you yet still so humble. And he said something like, when he was interviewed in Johnny Carson's show, he mentioned me. He said that Kieu Chinh is so talented. Hollywood must have a place for her. And I was very lucky. I got help from many other friends. Actor Don Johnson helping me. When he has a show, Nest Bridges, he gave me a part as the first lady of Vietnam in his show, Nest Bridges. And I work in many other shows, but very small parts. I take anything. One line here, one scene there. Most of my friends told me that, why you take such a small character? You was a star. I said, well, I came here as an exile artist. I know that I have to start from zero. So I take whatever came to me. I've been working for hundreds of shows, from China Beach till Dynasty, many shows, until I got a part in the Joy Luck Club. And then later, of course, many more movies. And I really grateful for the people who have helped me, especially actress T.P. Hadron. She's just like my big sister now. And many other who've been helping me, that I am back to my career and I'm still working. Thank you.
Thank you. And Irene, you got into the business very, very young. Tell us about how you got into the entertainment business.
Yeah, now listening to, everyone spoke, and it's all so interesting story. A lot of us didn't yet born to want to be an actor. I guess my first passion, my first love was ballet. And I was a child in Hong Kong going to elementary school. And I saw, the poster of the red shoes. And I just couldn't, it was just, drawing me in like a magnet. And I would make my mother, stop at the bus stop or something to see that poster. And pretty soon I begged her to allow me to take ballet. So there was two quite famous ballet schools in Hong Kong. I think Nancy went to one and I went to the other one. She was more the American style instead of the British style instead of the Russian style. So whatever it was, I lived for those 2 nights when I can go to ballet school. And so, but then when my family immigrated to America, I ended up in New York. And so of course, my dreams of ballet wasn't going to happen because I had to study English 101 for foreigners. So I went to junior high school, and pretty soon we moved into New York City. and I would take the subway and go to take ballet classes at Carnegie Hall. And around that time, I must have, was asked to do an audition for Susie Wong. I don't know how to read a script really. They said, well, just come to one of the rehearsals, and this is the part because we're going on the road and we would need to replace this girl. And so I'm a good mimic. I said, whatever she did, I did. She crossed her leg, and then she crossed her arm. She go like this, I go like this. She tossed her hair, and I tossed my hair. So I memorized that. So I went back in to do the, audition, and I got the part. So we went on the road about 6 months, and that was when I met Nancy. So I thought, well, we're from the same hometown, and the next thing happened was that they asked me to audition for Flower Drum Song, the movie, which Nancy started. And I don't know, so I got the job and flew to Hollywood, and I was Nancy's roommate. I don't know if she knew that she had to room with a 16-year-old, So I then went to the studio in the morning. I hopped into her limousine and went to the studio, which is Universal, and rehearsed. I mean, they had a whole set there. They had a whole Chinatown built on the set. That's how it was in those days. So we rehearsed, and got paid, and I was fed lunch, and then I after the day's work, I rode in the limousine with Nancy and went back. So I called my mom and said, you can't believe it. We have telephones here that are white and red and yellow. You still have that black phone, right? Yeah, we only have black phones. She says, I got all kinds of phones. So that's how I kind of started. So when I was in Flower Drum Song, which is directed by Henry Costa, with a long list of credentials, including, I think, Ben-Hur, or I don't know, something, or Spartacus. And he wanted 3 dancers, me in the middle, 2 other dancers, to step down one step and start singing, chop suey, whatever it was. So he said, whatever you do, just look to the right, look to the left, doesn't matter, pick your choice, but don't look in the camera. Well, okay, roll sound, action, step down. I stared right into the camera. That went on about 10 times. And I thought, oh my God, I am absolutely going to be fired. I'm going to be fired because I've never been in a film before. I've only been photographed by, photographers. And photographers usually, want you to look in the camera and, turn your head this way, that way, get your chin down, that kind of stuff. So Lord and behold, a few weeks later, I'm usually trying to hide from Henry Costa, so I would like mingle with all the other dancers and stuff like that. And Henry Costa found me and said, I'm preparing my next movie with Jimmy. And I want you to, come up to my office and get a script. And there's a part in there that, of a French hooker, a teenage French hooker. So I thought you may be, suitable for. And I said, okay. So I went and grabbed the script, still didn't know how to read the script, scene and page numbers are different. And he said, don't worry about it. We'll have a dialogue coach on the set and this and that. So then I walked around the set and asking people, who is Jimmy? Who is Jimmy? Who is Jimmy? Who is Jimmy? It turned out that it was Jimmy Stewart, and he was a huge star. He was just amazing. And we had a very incredible experience of filming that little scene, that I was a French hooker. I was helping him find his daughter, and I had to leap on his back with like 4-inch heels, running and leaping. Okay, it was kind of hard for me because I was a very kind of chubby teenager, So Jimmy is so skinny and tall, and they got this, fat teenager jumping on his back, and that took about 30 takes. It was very bad for his back, that is. So this is the beginning, and I think that in this business you need a lot of hard work, a lot of luck, and a lot of I don't know. It's just being the right time at the right place. I think somebody said that, Nancy. It's just being the right time at the right place. Because of all the things that I've done, the films, the TVs, some of the things I was mostly remembered for was my commercial. I worked for Standard Oil of America, and I was on TV 40 times a day. They kept just showing that commercial all the time. It's just like, because they had the sound. It was a girl dancing on a gas pump with, flower lace and this and that. For some reason, they always casted me as Hawaiian, as Japanese, or as Korean. I don't know. I think I've got, like a versatile face. But after that commercial, things got better or not better. It's different. You can't go on a talk show sometimes because it was sponsored by Shell Oil or something. But anyway, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for every day. And I'm still working. Netflix is out doing everything. So 2 Netflix projects. One is Away with, I play Vivian Wu's mother. It's actually very timely, very well written, about a spaceship, that space shuttle that goes to Mars with an international, international crew of astronauts. And it was very, very interesting. So I played them all. And then in Over the Moon, I played a grandma. Well, somebody's got to play grandma and mother, right? So just keep on going. And I really enjoy it, enjoy my life. And I just wish everybody is having a great time. Thank you, George. Thank you.
So over the years, I mean, your paths crossed several times, right? Early on, The World of Susie Wong, or Flower Drum Song, and then Joy Luck Club for 3 of you. Being in a very small community of Asian American actresses, when did you all meet, and are you friends? Do you see each other privately? I'm just curious because you really are a part of a very special club of actors that Hollywood would come to.
Touch, and I see Lisa. I just met Kieu Chinh last year at a nice talk at a dinner, George's, the dinner from Asian World Film Festival. And France, I haven't seen in a long time. So yeah, we do try to stay in touch. I think it's good, it's nice.
We go to, we see each other at screenings, the Academy screening. Sometimes I see France, but she just walked right by me because I didn't realize that she's a blonde now, and I go, oh my God, that face is really familiar. So several times that it was France. And I see Nancy once in a while at the screening, and Lisa maybe once or twice. I mean, the screenings are wonderful when we had it, before 2020. First run movies, comfortable seating. It's just the top of the line, except you cannot get popcorn, that's for sure.
Trailblazers, who opened up Hollywood for women and Asians alike, what do you expect from the future? I mean, Flower Drum Song to Joy Luck Club, 32 years past, and then another 25 years to Crazy Rich Asians. Do you think the glass ceiling now has finally been broken, and that Asian American actors and actresses particularly that are following in your footsteps are going to have a much better chance of landing roles?
That shows you, 34 years, and then from Flower Drum Song to Joy Luck Club, and another 25 to Crazy Rich Asians. I don't think exactly that Hollywood's looking to do many more films with an all-Asian cast. I hope so. I think it has changed a lot. I think television really opened it up for minorities, for not only Asians, but African Americans, for Hispanics, so which is good. The awareness is there. With internet and everything connecting us to the world, I think that has helped. Hopefully, I don't know about breaking the glass ceiling. I don't think so, not yet. Not for Asians anyway. But it's getting better. It's getting better. It's a start.
I agree because, Hollywood, the very fact that, it's Hollywood, I cannot very well play somebody's mother. Whatever, Nicole Kidman's mother. It just far-fetched because this country is made out of immigrants. It's an immigrant country of all ethnicities. So the Latinos, you know, have their own enclave of stories to tell, but to be so broad as all, you know, big pictures in Hollywood, I think that, you know, it really depends on the writer. If we have good writers, I think that is the key. Just like Joy Luckluck, you know, she wrote a marvelous, incredible book. So whoever writing the stories holds the key.
And anyone else want to also Lisa?
I'm so happy to see the latest release of Mulan. That's a very good Chinese history story. And hopefully that more actors, more screenwriters will write stories about Chinese history, philosophy, and introduce Chinese stories to Hollywood.
Me, I think that nowadays, look at what happened nowadays. The people trying to erase the barrier between the ethnic group, between the skin color, between two, you know, I think that we are in the new era, that we are all human beings. It doesn't matter that different color, different races, different ethnic group, we are all in a family, big family of the world. So I hope that the new generation of actresses don't have to facing like the time that we have to face in our life. And I'm glad that the new Asian movie, like Lisa just mentioned, the Mulan, the Crazy Rich Asian, and Joy Luck Club and Flower Branchon. We don't have to wait for another 32 years or 25 years for another movie about Asian. We are all human beings. Let's talk about we can play any other character. Then it doesn't matter the black handle that character or the white or we the yellow handle that character. I hope so. I hope so, and I believe that Hollywood would knock down the wall of the barrier so that we can all come closer together. May I mention back a little bit about the relationship between a work that I didn't have a chance to talk earlier. I have a great relationship with my actor in the Joy Luck Club. Thanks to Lisa Liu, we have a great time when we are working on set. When off the set, years later, on my birthday, Lisa gave me a jade pendant, my necklace. Franz Nuyen called me on Christmas night and singing Silent Night for Kieu Chinh. Ming-Na Wen came all the way to San Diego on the event that I was awarded, Lifetime Achievement Award. She came up to stage, talk about me, and she called me the second mother. That's how the relationship we have. And then just last year, we went to TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival. Wang was so happy to see each other. We hug, we kissed. And even the casting director, Heidi Levitt, and me, and we are friends on Facebook. We comment on each other on Facebook all the time. So that is how the wonderful relationship that we have after the movie. I also have another wonderful relationship with another movie that I have made called The Journey from the Fall, directed by Ham Tran. After years, we are just like a family. From the producer, Alan Ford, to the director, to the actors. we call each other auntie, sister, friends, and we go out for dinner together. We still seeing each other, and that's how we should work. And I'm very grateful for all my actors, and I hope that nowadays we don't have to call anymore. Okay, I'm Asian. We are actor, and I hope that Hollywood would have a new era of working like that.
And France, you were in the Joy Luck Club. Are you optimistic about the future in Hollywood for Asian American actors?
Well, I came in 1956, 57, and at the time the studio called me the next Anna May Wong, who was the last Asian actress who starred with Marlene Dietrich, and in the 30s. And then I showed up, not knowing anything about the business. And I feel now, with all my years behind me, that I have broken through a glass ceiling or a glass wall at that time. And in those days, I was literally the only game in town. I mean, I played the American Indian, I played Japanese, I played Hawaiian, I played everything. But that was my blessing. And I think it opened the doors for an integration and a recognition of the talent that come from Asiatic origins. And, it is late in my life. I am 81 years old. And I think I have the memories, and I feel that I have somehow opened a view, an avenue for talents, ethnic talents. And it is the progression of the world of integrating all of us human beings as equals. And that's certainly what I pray for. And if they don't need me anymore in front of the camera, that's fine. I think I have collected all the blessing that this wonderful country was able to give me. I came from utter poverty, raised by my mother all by herself through the war. And my mom at the end of the war weighed 38 kilos, if that tells you anything. And she was literally like if she had the people in the concentration camps. She had no food. And I somehow survived. And then it was a fairy tale after that. It was just literally being taken from total anonymity to be the first ethnic person to star on Broadway at the age of 19, speaking almost half of English, and to star in many films. It's been a wonderful life, I think. I owe a great deal of gratitude to a television show called Sent Elsewhere. Had to do a medical show. It's very popular at the time. And I was there for 3.5 years, working with the most wonderfully educated, integrated, understanding, welcoming producers and writers. And that was a blessing because they allowed me as a female to give and interact with their ideas and always welcome if there was something that I felt was not true to my character. And they said, oh, okay, you're right, bye. And that was it. And it was a marvelous experience with very, very well-educated people, very sensitive, very socially responsible. And I think I learned from them. I I was enriched and given a sense of acceptance with myself. And I bless all the newcomers that come into the screen, and I hope that they understand the responsibility that we have as performers, whether in theater, on the screen, on television, or little apparatus like we have today, it's called a computer or something. And it is a social responsibility to carry on a proper styles of life and giving an example to the new generation that will become performers, because we are responsible for the portrait that we give to the public. And that I'm very, very adamant about. So I thank you all and bless you all. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to bring in Jeremy Kagan, writer, producer, director, and USC professor. Jeremy, welcome. I'm sure you have some questions you'd like to ask.
Well, I'm delighted to be with such distinguished performers. And I'm so glad to hear from all of you that you feel the world is changing and more accepting talent and merit as distinguished from color of skin or cultural background. And speaking of background, what's in the background there is, oh, well, there's Irene. You just saw her.
Yes.
Because this is a movie that we made back in the 1970s, a movie called Judge D, based on a very famous character in the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century in Chinese history, and also a famous series of detective stories but written by a man named Van Gulik. And the actually now also famous writer, Nicholas Meyer, who was a friend of mine, I got him his first job to write the screenplay. I was so naive back in the 1970s, I thought we were going to actually shoot in China. We shot on the back lot of MGM, and the storm that you see behind me in a second, oh, there's Irene again, that's great. The storm you see behind me was shot up in Griffith Park. But the experiences, it was fascinating, and I think it references all the changes, and I just want to share it with you. At the time, there was the David Carradine very, very successful Kung Fu television series. And ABC wanted to make another kind of series, but they were not interested in having an Asian star. They wanted to have another Caucasian pull his eyes back and become the star of this particular show. I, on the other hand, said I wasn't going to do it unless we did it with Asian actors. Now, what was fascinating, and Irene, you may remember, I love to see if you have stories to tell, because there you are again. What was fascinating is in that time to cast in Los Angeles Asian actors, and particularly Chinese actors, because at that time, that's the story's a Chinese story. We couldn't do it. We couldn't find Asian actors from China. So in the end, we had sort of people like Miko Taka. We had Japanese actors. We had actors from the Philippines. We had actors from all areas of Asia. And even CANDID, who played the lead, is actually part Black African-American as well as Asian. So we were mixing everything together at the time because it was the only way to be able to make that. If we made that today, we wouldn't have that problem. Although one of the interesting things that I'm finding, and I teach at the University of Southern California in the graduate school, and a lot of our students come from Asia. A lot of them come from China specifically. And when they're interested in, we're doing this right now, dealing even with the issue of Zoom, and they're casting their short films and looking for, interestingly enough, Asian actors to play here in Los Angeles. And what they're finding is, because you can do this obviously now, they have a much, much greater selection of Asian actors from China. So they're now actually casting in China to do a Zoom short movie because obviously they're more there. But I feel that there's been great changes, and I'm so pleased to see that we are far more accepting. I mean, I actually think Crazy, you've already talked about this, but I think Crazy Rich Asians had made a significant difference in terms of the white Caucasian American public seeing a story that they could totally relate to, and there weren't any white characters in it. And for it to be that successful, I think is a very important thing in terms of the shift. Although one of the things that's fascinating to me, and I'm interested in because we have these beautiful Asian women here with us, but one of the fascinating things I see, and I see this even in China. I've been a couple of years teaching at the in Shanghai, that a lot of the male heroes are oftentimes more Caucasian looking in the Chinese movie than they are, I would say, not that look. So it's a fascinating thing about appealing to the world public and where people stand on this. But Irene, what do you remember?
Well, it was a really, really interesting project, you know. First of all, the makeup, I don't know where you found this makeup selection, that we were painted in different colors, and mine was yellow and red. Like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of Chinese operatic, the red going up to the nose, to, you know, all the eyeshadow, and the face is yellow. And, you know, sometimes you leave a set and you're just like in a rush to get home, and I stopped for gasoline and people went, oh my God, you know, just really scared them to death. And I go, oh my God, I haven't even taken off my makeup. And I thought the whole filming was just very interesting, because the story itself was so interesting that this judge brought 4 of his wives, I suppose they were wives, to travel with him, you know, on the countryside, going from city to towns and villages. And, you know, I wish it had become a series, you know.
Well, I remember how delightful it was to be working with all of you. And it's interesting because in China over the last number of years, there have been other versions of TV series, because the ABC actually wanted to, which is sort of fascinating. I didn't know this, but this was a television movie, and ABC actually wanted it to be the pilot for a series, which I didn't know, because I was just making this one-shot movie. It was a good sort of thriller story. So what they found is that the audiences weren't ready to have this sort of older, overweight hero. Even if he did have these beautiful wives, including you, I mean, they weren't ready to have this as a series. So that actually never happened.
Too bad. But you did some other very interesting films too. Yeah.
I've been lucky.
Did you know, Strawberry Statement?
I had actually, I had a conversation literally a week ago for the Directors Guild with Ang Lee, talking about the shifts in terms of being able to tell stories that are specifically about Asian culture, and how he believed they're getting more acceptable by the rest of the world. So he was very encouraging about where this was headed.
So let's start off. Here's a question for Lisa Liu. It's from Ryan Yip. Ryan would like to know, what was it like working on a Westerns TV series, i.e. Bonanza?
Oh, that was very pleasant experience. And at that time, David Daughter, the producer, appreciated my acting ability. So he told me he's going to approach CBS to make a series about a family, Chinese family. And I will be playing the role of the leading Chinese member of the family, like Green. But But at that time, CBS didn't approve of his suggestion because they thought there will be not enough audience to see it. So it never realized. I'm happy that he recognized my talent, because every time when I go to an interview, the first question is, are you Chinese? Because in their mind, Chinese girls are very petite with a round moon face and slant eyes. And I'm none of those, so they don't think I was Chinese. So I wasn't welcome and being cast in those days as a Chinese girl.
Thank you. And I have a question for Kieu from Alan Vaux-Ford. You obviously know him well. He's wondering if you're planning to write a memoir or do a documentary about your extraordinary life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, actually, I was thinking about that due to my 25 years as a guest speaker in all over in universities in the United States and many other events in the United States. People ask me, do I have a book or do I have a documentary to show? So I was thinking of writing a book, just not to talk about le moi. There are, well, the Vietnam War has been headlined in US for so many years, but most of the book and the film making about Vietnam is from the point of view of the outsider. So I want to have a book from the point of view from the witness, the insider. I came from Hanoi, north of Vietnam, and Vietnam was divided into two parts. North belonged to communist and South non-communist. And I was witness since the French move out of Vietnam and then the American move into Vietnam. And my family was separated in three different continentals. My father and my only brother left in the North, communist. My sister left for France. She's still living there now in France. I myself became a refugee within my own country in the south of Vietnam. And then I married to a paratrooper officer. He's Vietnamese, but he lived in America for many years. And therefore, and how I started became a movie star during the wartime. How the movie industry during the wartime. Actually, I supposed to be in the movie from the very first American movie shot in Vietnam, The Quiet American, by Joseph Mankiewicz. I was supposed to be in that movie, but at that time I was only 18 years old, and I just get married, and my husband then was in America, and my mother-in-law wouldn't allow me to become an actor because of, at that time movie are still something very new to our culture. So I wasn't allowed to work as an actor. And then when the South, when the communists took over the South, how I was able to get out of the South of Vietnam and became an exile in America. There's so many things happened there. Of course, that there is more than 3 million people left Vietnam and all over in the world, and more than 500,000 of people became the boat people, and the boat people started from the Vietnam War. And how was I able to come back to work as an actor in Hollywood. So many things there I just want to share with the younger generation, how difficult it is for an actor who was born in the wartime, live more than your half of your life in the war, and yet still working in the art, in motion, movie industry. And I was working all over in Southeast Asia. I met Andre Morgan, long years back in Hong Kong, where I still, I was a producer. I have my own movie company in Vietnam that I met with Ran Shaw, Raymond Chow, Andre Morgan, years back in Hong Kong. And also there, I met William Holden, whom saved my life from an airplane accident. And then later, he helped me to put me at William Morris Agency. And how I start my working in Hollywood. So many things I just want to share with the younger generation, how difficult it is for a person born in wartime, became refugees twice in the family, and became an exile artist in this big country, Hollywood. That many questions to me. Therefore, I decided to write my memoir to share with the younger generation. And I also hope that I can start my documentary due to there are so many film clips that I was lucky to have from the evacuation, from the war, to the star in Southeast Asia, to the all the awards from Taipei to Philippines to India and here in Hollywood. And therefore, I would like to share my life. It's not about talking about le moi est haïssable, but you know, I just want to share with the younger generation that even how difficult it is, you still can pass and make it.
I have a question for actually all of you. It seems to me that the older generations in the various Asian cultures, not the newer ones, but the older generations, your parents or your grandparents, disapproved of the idea of being an actor.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm interested in Francis and Lisa's response and Nancy's and Irene. Why do you think that was true? I don't think it's true as much anymore, but I think it was true in your maybe parents or grandparents' generations. Why do you think they disapproved of people, particularly of a woman becoming an actor?
Definitely, because we're coming from a culture that does not respect. It's almost like vaudeville. Like when I first got into acting, my father literally said to my mother, "That's like walking the streets." I mean, you have to be an engineer or a chemist or a CPA or a nursing job. It's the Asian culture. It's just not respected because they associate that with kind of vaudeville, that you're gonna, on the street corner doing something or other. So that was the hardest to overcome. It's my own family. Not so much, sometimes you don't get a job, sometimes you don't look the right part, or too old, too young, too skinny, too fat, too whatever. But it's from your own family that really, really is hurtful. I think after so many years, my father finally gave me a PhD of life, so he accepted me. So I was really like, had waited all these years for my father to accept me. My mother was kinder. She would, when the days I wasn't working, we used to go to unemployment, like collect some money and go out to the beach. I was saying my father a dentist bill for, cleaning teeth for $25 back then, right? And he sent it back to me, you know, and my mother will always say, don't worry about it. I'll send you something. I'll send you something. You know, so she sent me something to get my first car, you know, which was a Chevrolet Impala, you know, convertible, you know, with rest seats. I was like so happy, so stoked. So it's like against our own family. Don't you think so, Kieu? It's I don't know. They were just so disapproving of this profession.
Was that true for you, Francis? Did your parents or grandparents approve of the idea of being in this particular profession? What was their attitude?
Well, I don't think my grandparents didn't know anything about my career. I mean, after the war, my mother continued to live and attempted to come to the United States, I think for 16 years or something like that before she got a visa looking for her husband. But as far as my mother is the only authority that I had in my life, she didn't think that was something permissible in some kind. It was not important. It was vulgar. It was, en français, we say, c'était pas comme il faut. It's not the way it should be. And I think from the fact that we came from really true poverty, it was an effort to be respectable.
Friends.
I'm sorry, Lisa. Oh, I thought Lisa was speaking to me. Were you?
Lisa, what about your family and your grandparents? What was their attitude toward performing?
Well, my grandparents were passed away. My grandfather was gone by the time I was born. And I think I was maybe 5 or 6. It was toward the end of the war that my grandmother died. My aunts and uncle were peasants with literally herds. As a child, I was herding goats in the hills, in the mountains. And that was not, there was no feedback on that. I was literally alone on myself. The only encouragement I had was because I attended the École des Beaux-Arts, and I was one of the youngest art students in Marseille. They took me on before anything happened, before I ever came to the United States, they took me to the film festival in Cannes on the back of a motorcycle. I was their mascot. I was the youngest in the architect school and the fine art school. And at that time, I was kind of discovered by photography in Cannes. And Kari Aslash, who was the top photographer in Europe at the time from Sweden, photographed me. Then Philip Holzman photographed me. And then I got, my friends somehow got accosted so that I would become, to go test in Paris and in Rome by Joe Mankiewicz and Michael Todd. Now that happened when I was 14 and a half. And then when I came back to my hometown, one day I was going home or going away from my school, and a man, he said, "Mademoiselle, mademoiselle," and in my town, when a man said that, you just ran. And finally, a woman caught up with me, and she said, "I'm Suzanne Flon. And my friend is John Huston. He wants to talk to you. I promise you, I am starring in your show in the theater here. You are fine." And so I ended up having a cup of coffee with John Huston and Suzanne Flon. And at the time, John Huston wanted to do the life of Mahatma Gandhi. And he saw me in the street and he thought I could play the wife of Mahatma Gandhi. And so he said, "Well, you send me pictures in Ireland and then we'll talk." And so I sent pictures. I had pictures taken, and the people, my friend at the art school, of course, wanted me to you know, to be movies or something. And, I got a letter and he thanked me for his picture. He said, I'm so sorry, but the production is not going to go ahead, but I thank you for the picture. And he sent me my picture back. And I've lost his letter. I don't know, I wish I had it, but I am in such an introverted person that later on I learned that John Huston actually lived a couple of streets away from me in Beverly Hills, and I never went to say, hi, pushing the button and said, you remember me when I was 14? And I never did meet him again. But, you know, I feel I had an enchanted destiny, and I was meant to be in film. And I was meant, even at the age of 14, you know, with my self-made little salopette, a little outfit that I made for myself to go to the festival. And it's a Cinderella story.
Got it. Lisa, did your family approve of the idea of you being a performer? What was their attitude?
Oh, my family, my parents told me I'm too simple-minded. If I were in the acting business, if I were successful, I will not be able to deal with my environment. I'm not smart enough. And I'm an honest person, so I should go into the banking area and business so that I will gain people's trust and I will go far. But, you know, they didn't know that in every business it's very complicated. But during all these years I worked, I found that if I'm honest, if I am straightforward, and people will learn that they will not play tricks on me, because I don't even realize they're playing tricks. I treat everything very honestly. And in every business, I think your character and your straightforwardness and your honesty means more than your.
Very true, very true. Nancy, how about for you? Did your parents or grandparents approve of the idea of you being a performer?
Asian parents want their children to be doctors, lawyers, have a profession that they can support themselves. They think actors are which is true. I mean, being an actor, we all know, you get jobs and then you don't work for a long period of time too. So good Asian parents want their children to have the best of everything. So even today, I believe they still want them to have responsible careers. My parents, no, actually my father was an architect, and he worked on a film in London because he finished his architecture when he was doing his article, which is you have to work 1 year, and he decided to work on a film set. I think it was with John Box, I don't know what John Box was, I don't know what he worked on the film set anyway, for sets and everything. And my mother always wanted to be an actress. And she was English, and she was an extra on that film where my father, it was a James Mason film, that's right. And my father and my mother met on that film. And later on, I told James Mason about it, that they met and they married, you know, based on working together on a film. Can I say something about with Lisa, when she said about Bonanza in those days? They wanted to do a series and the studio was not ready to have an all Asian in the series, an all Asian family. Because I remember Bruce Lee and I worked together on a film. Bruce was called the Wrecking Crew, and Bruce was the stunt coordinator. And he always told me that he wanted to go back to Hong Kong and become a big martial arts star. That's how he talked. So eventually he did go to Hong Kong in the early 70s, and he became a big martial arts star. I remember seeing Bruce in Hong Kong one time, And he said, Nancy, that's what I thought. He got very excited. He said, I'm going to do a TV series, American TV series called Kung Fu, and I'm starring in it. I said, oh, I don't know, Bruce. I mean, you know, this is the early 70s, and I don't know. I said, I don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? I'm starring in it. I said, well, I don't know if the American audience are really ready to have someone, a Chinese, come into the home once a week. And he said, I bet you. So put out his hand. We made a bet for $10. And Bruce lost the bet. And David Carradine did Kung Fu, playing a Chinese. So referring to you, Lisa.
Can I ask, there's a question here for Irene, if I could ask you. Who is your favorite leading man that you ever acted with in a film or TV show, and why?
Well, you know, it's really hard to say because I worked with some real major icons like Elvis and, you know, Jimmy Stewart and the you know, John Wayne. So John Wayne was difficult to work with. I mean, I like working with him because like all the major icons, they don't rehearse. So they just get on the set and, you know, you're supposed to do this. So with John Wayne, I started out, you know, on the wrong foot because we rode a limousine onto set, whatever it was. And he invited me for a drink. I never met him because it was cast, you know, in Hollywood by his son, Michael Wayne was the producer. So he invited me over for a drink. And I said, oh, but I don't drink. You know, I mean, such an idiot, right? I don't drink. And I just, so from there on, he has sort of got this, you know, impression that I was this little, he refers to me as this little hippie chick. And it didn't get any better because friends of mine, you know, would be writing to me. They were so against the Vietnam War, so against the Vietnam War, when AWOL and all sorts of things were happening. And I'm non-political and I don't even know. So they would send me letters and they would roll up a couple of joints, you know, and then we open it in the limousine and it comes rolling out. So Wayne kind of, you know, took a little look. So didn't start out on the right foot. However, it was very interesting working on a huge film like that when they were filming 24 hours a day because, you know, it was late in the year and in Fort Benning, Georgia, the leaves were turning. So they had to spray miles and miles of leaves to be green, looking like Vietnam, you know? And so it was physically very difficult and I got no direction whatsoever. You know, he directed a guy, so he didn't know how to direct a woman. I was the only woman in that show, and it was really during the wartime. You would see actual soldiers being trained there, and the next, you know, few weeks they would be shipping out to Vietnam, fighting the real war there. You know, it's the training ground for the Green Berets, and there would be car, you know, in the parking lot from here till your eyes can see. And I said, well, what did this cars for? So they'll say, well, it's the people who left it here, they're never going to come back. So, you know, your heart kind of sank and really realize the brutality of war. It's just unbelievable. And it's still going on now in different parts of the world. You know, war is going on. People fighting people. People just can't get along. You know, you're French, I mean, you're like whatever, Lebanese, and you're Armenian, you're whatever. They're just fighting and fighting all the time. We just can't seem to get along. And it's very sad. I wish that there's something we could do, you know. I pray a lot. That's what I do. And they are fun to work with. Elvis was great fun to work with. Elvis, again, he doesn't rehearse because he's Elvis Presley. So they comes on the set, you know, I mean, there's a guy with a glass of water and another guy with a comb, you know, so was surrounded by the situation. But he is the nicest kind of person at that time. you know, because don't forget, he died at 42 or 43. You know, people like that just couldn't have a life. So he continually surrounded himself, you know, 10, 12, you know, assistants, because he grew up with them. He trusted those people. Then he also had the colonel, who was not a good manager for Elvis at all. Elvis is major, enormously talented. He can act, he can sing. He's got a voice like none other. So I would say I really enjoyed, you know, working with Elvis Presley. I mean, he's just the whole essence of this guy. Oh, by the way, he smells like milk and baby powder, talcum powder. Yeah, because we're so close, you know. So I'm kind of fragrance sensitive, smell sensitive, and usually, I can smell, what kind of aftershave man has on, and some are nice, some are too strong, some are just very nice. And with him, it was baby powder, Johnson's baby powder, and milk.
Thank you. So perhaps one more question. This is from Belissa Gunardo for everyone. What's the best career advice you've ever received? And I'd like to tag on to that. What career advice would you give to up-and-coming actors? So why don't we start with Nancy on that one?
Follow your heart. If one wants to be an actor, whatever they want to be, and that's my advice. And young actors do come to me and ask me, and they have problems and they're not making it, and they're going through a very tough time. And I think that happens in any profession. So really, you just got to follow your heart. That's what I tell them. I say, if that's what you really want to do it. Because you never know with life what's going to happen. You can't predict the future. So just go with it. And if that makes you happy, if that's your passion, do it.
And I want to jump in to say that I think just constantly, improve your craft. That's very important. Even Jane Fonda, when she went back to do the TV series, she hired a coach, because your timing could be off. It's like you get rusty when you do something, whether it's tennis or golf or something. You just got to be practicing your craft all the time. Of course, with acting, it's hard, but you need to join workshops. You need to join, improvs, just to keep that, engine going. And now I'm watching a lot of TV, a lot of old films, new films, whatever it is. And I so appreciate that we have so many great actors, so many talented actors. I just saw Robert Downey Jr. last night in the Sherlock Holmes thing. He's so brilliant. Oh my God, so brilliant. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And Kieu, what's the best career advice you've ever received? And what career advice would you give?
That me? You asking?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I can't.
Thank you.
I think motion picture industry, film, is a tough world to get in. It's not an easy job. But if you love, if you have passion for that, then yes, go for that. I think any other job, any other profession, you need love and passion and work hard for that. Especially for me, I start the motion picture industry at the time that the war in Vietnam escalated. Very difficult. My family broke apart. My mother got killed by bomb during the Second World War. My father was in jail. Communist re-education camp when the French moved out. And I became a refugee twice in my own country. And my dream when I was young is in music. I start a piano since I was very young. And I start singing since I was 12, 13 years old. I never thought of motion picture industry because of then the film is something newborn in my country. But you know, from somebody up there, give me the destiny that I start motion picture industry. When I started, I love it. And when I love it, I put all my passion into my career. I never forgot the very difficult scene in the Joy Luck Club when I have to left my twin babies in China. I remember that scene. We went through a very many difficulty on the set. And when the scene started, I asked director Wayne Wang, do you have anything to tell me about the scene? He said, Chinh, I know a little bit about your life, what you have went through. I have nothing to tell you, but ask you to do whatever you feel. So my feeling at that time is, I remember my own life when my father have to leave me to go south and he stayed behind. So now that I am a mother, look back on his situation, his feeling when he was a father. Now I'm a mother, that I have to leave the twin babies in China. So I act. Wayne director also told me that, Chinh, you don't have to speak Chinese or any other language. Just say whatever you feel. So in that scene, instead of I have to speak Chinese, I speak Vietnamese for that scene as how I feel about my own situation. And that was only one take, no second take. Wayne said, you got it. Also, another very difficult scene that I have worked in the movie Journey from the Fall, when I have to witness girls get raped by Thai pirate on the boat. And I have to jump in to throw the broiling rice cooking, the rice soup, to throw to the Thai pirate when they are raping the young girl. And then after that, the storm coming and the boat will go back and forth like that in the big ocean. And I have to walk, hanging there and walk from this end of the boat to the other end of the boat when the boat was rocking like that. And I'm not a good swimmer in the middle of the ocean. I do it with one take because scene like that you cannot have second take. But I do that because many of my friends, they are boat people, and I know thousands of people that I've been working with refugees. I know thousands of people who went through that situation. So to me, they say life imitates art. But to me, I say art imitates life. So there's so many things that you are not acting. You just live with what you act. So I think that is the case. I see that art imitate life. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lisa, is there anything you would have done different in hindsight in your career? And what advice would you give for up and coming actors?
Oh, I think most importantly, you must have a healthy body, healthy thinking. You must have good health. That is the most important. So you keep yourself healthy. Secondly, when you play a character, you must first delve into that character's background. because each character educated differently grew up in different society will react to the same situation differently. So for the second thing is you have to know your character and react as the person, not as how you feel, but as the person who was endowed with the situation. How would that person react? I learned a very good lesson when I graduated from Pasadena Playhouse. The principal, Dr. Brown, presented Tea House of the August Moon as my graduation performance. And I don't speak Japanese. At that time, that's the only play which is on Broadway. And so I went to learn Japanese. And after one performance, a Japanese lady came backstage and said, "Oh, you danced well, you acted well, and you speak well, but you have Tokyo accent." And I was very happy then to see, oh, I speak Japanese with Tokyo accent. But later on, when I went to Japan, I learned that the geisha girls are from Kyoto. And Kyoto has a special kind of accent. They don't speak with Tokyo accent. So whatever I was presenting was not true to life. So from there on, whenever I take a character, I always study their background thoroughly, because every character depends on when they were born and how they were educated, how they were brought up, would react to the same situation differently. So you must react on stage as that person. That's and most important is health, I think. You must have good health. Otherwise, you can't perform as requested.
And Franz, same question for you. Is there any advice you would offer to up-and-coming actors?
Beg your pardon?
Oh, I was addressing Franz. Franz, I was going to ask, is there any advice you would give to up-and-coming actors?
Well, I think more than an advice, I would ask a question, is why do you want to become an actor? Why? Search your soul and search your mind and search your intelligence. Why do you want? If you are wanting to become a movie star, that's not a reason to become an actor. You have to somehow find in yourself the desire to be given an insight in society, a meaning to the person that you are given as a role to perform. You have to literally study every psychological aspect, or create, if it's not available, of that human being that comes out of little black letters on a piece of white paper. You are responsible for giving birth to a real person on the screen. It's not a human being that goes out home and take out the garbage or walk the dog. It is the person that is being dreamed by the writer. The writer has in his mind an entire universe, and you have to somehow fill in the blank in between the lines. It is an enormous work that requires intellectual persuasion and persistence to understand a character. And if you want to do that and have the patience to do that and the determination to do that and the courage to fail to do that, and getting yourself up again and try to do better next time, then you have my blessings. Otherwise, I think you should become a doctor or a lawyer.
Yes. Well, thank you very, very much. This was so enlightening and such an honor. I think we learned an incredible amount, and we could probably talk for hours more, but I'm not going to subject you to that. So thank you, France, Lisa, Kieu,
Thank you.
Irene, and Nancy, and Jeremy. This was truly exceptional, and maybe we can do it again sometime. Thank you.